Bro, I made a video about 2 minutes and 28 seconds into Reforge's missive, and I think I ended that video too soon because where I paused and as I clicked play to continue watching the rest, I am very convinced that a lot of our commentators in the gaming space need to interact more with gamers. Like, just read comments, post your production, post your video making and such, read trends and follow what gamers actually do. And then also throw in some time for data in terms of looking at what the numbers are actually postulating. And you'd be very surprised what you find out. In this particular clip here, Reforge has been talking about, people wanting to access the PlayStation games via this Xbox proxy partner console and such are going to have to wait. And this waiting period is not a valid proposition. And if you listen to what he's saying, it's very interesting because his chat is even raising some very valid points. And I would wish he would just say, that's actually, and consider it, but, just listen for yourself.
Like, since when are we in the business of thinking that like waiting 1 to 2 to sometimes 3 years is like a compelling marketing offer? Like, that's not a compelling offer to people.
So basically, and the context is, when is waiting a compelling offer for people to play games? When has that been a thing? And it's very funny what somebody responded here to him.
If I have no FOMO? Yeah, but we're talking about the average consumer.
Did you hear that? Somebody said, if I have no FOMO, I'm just going to be able to wait. I mean, literally, PC gamers spend 92% of their time on older games. Now, this is not to say that many of them will not buy newer games. It's just that a lot of the older games are just so compelling already. So waiting for the newer games are acceptable terms. And this is, I don't think, even relegated to PC gamers. I don't think so. Now, I don't have the data to say that console gamers do the same, but the data that we have from Matt Piscatella is that the gamers who buy games and the market that's available in terms of market share is about 16% of gamers. With that already in mind, I can comfortably say that not many gamers are rushing to buy brand new games at launch.
Do you feel like you're in tune with the consumer by postulating that people will wait undetermined amounts of time?
Very much so. The data says that. I don't think being in tune with the consumer is relevant in this case. Being in tune with the consumer would be you just asking people and talking about this stuff and listening to what they're saying. Like this person said, I have no FOMO. Not if I have no FOMO, of which that's interesting because it seems like, one of the best things that you can do as a gamer is develop that tough FOMO skin. Like I got Cyberpunk 2077, right? And FOMO is one thing, but the Phantom Liberty DLC, I haven't even beaten the game, so I'm not buying it. I played the demo for Monster Hunter Wilds, and I haven't bought it either. Because, when I bought Dragon's Dogma, that game was absolute trash in terms of its performance. The game was probably a good game, but the performance was very terrible. Like, I was pushing this thing with hardware, and it was still there sitting there and looking at me at 40-something FPS. And I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to play this thing, man. Like, I'm going to just leave it. Capcom, that's it. Until you clean up your games, of which, as I'm saying this, I'm looking at Resident Evil. Don't get me wrong. I know that game is clean. I'm happy to buy it. I'm happy to give you money, Capcom, if you will clean up your game. No problem here.
Like, when are Gran Turismo 7 and Demon Souls going to PC? Right. Exactly. Do we even have rumors about either of those?
The rumors that we have was that they were taken down, and I think it was from Icon Era or something. But honestly, who would be looking up to Demon Souls when there's Elden Ring Night Rain coming? Who would be looking for Gran Turismo in this conversation when there's Forza 5 going to PlayStation? I mean, can we just admit that the market is just so saturated that waiting wouldn't even feel like waiting anymore? It will be more like yesterday's news.
Can you play Gran Turismo 7 right now? Can you play Demon Souls Remake right now? Can you?
No. And when it came out to the PlayStation audience and the PlayStation community, the sales were weird. 1.8 Astrobot million copies by 2023. Granted, the PlayStation 5 had just launched. But when the PlayStation 5 launched, right? Sorry, no. By 2023, that's 3 years into the PlayStation 5 launch. But even, right, at the onset of the PlayStation 5, I think Miles Morales had done close to 4 million units. Hold on. Let me go ahead and look this. I have a Berkshire Hathaway source on this particular thing with MLB The Show. Y'all know I like making MLB The Show videos, right? MLB The Show sales on Wikipedia, I can usually track from there. If you notice, that link was pink because I've clicked that thing like crazy. To this Berkshire Hathaway, whatever. When PlayStation, oh yeah, and so in 2021, right, PlayStation had sold about 10 million units in terms of its console. Man, this has actually changed. This was very different. Goodness. At the time, MLB The Show, okay, yeah, Miles Morales at that time had sold 6.5 million copies. But Demon's Souls, by 3 years into the console generation, had only sold 1.8 million units. Bro, nobody bought the game. In fact, what this shows is that majority of gamers, if you're in tune with them, or if you're actually looking at the data, it's showing that many of them are just waiting for these games to go on sale, or just largely uninterested in a lot of the exclusives. Wow, somebody in the chat fed him Demon's Souls and Grand Theft and he jumped on it. No, you should have ignored those statements.
Do you see? It's not even all of them. There are games that you don't get.
That even many PlayStation players didn't want.
The interval that they come over is seemingly random. Yeah, you don't have Astrobot. There were rumors that they canceled the Gran Turismo 7 port. We don't even know what's going on with it. Game Logic says, people who already bought Helldivers 2 in non-PSN economic regions can still play the game. What PlayStation did was they went to Steam Publishing, planning to hit D-list or removed from the store in those regions. There were people reporting they could no longer play because they were getting refunds, Game Logic. There were people saying, I can no longer play. Because right now, there were also reports about this that I saw, where people, if you bought a game and you switched to a region where the game was region locked, you couldn't play it in that region. It wouldn't let you. Like, you can switch your region right now. And if you
I don't know. I think this has gone to another direction on this conversation. Okay, I think the conversation almost comes back on track here.
They blocked, I don't think Death Stranding is blocked anymore, but they did block Death Stranding at a time, and then they blocked God of War. So, like, because you could do it on there. And people are like, well, you could go through a browser and you could do it through Boosteroid. I don't think that PlayStation would be okay with it. I just don't think that they would. I think it runs contrary to their PC strategy. We've had this discussion a lot lately, and I keep going back to the same thing. I keep going back to Herman Hulst's commentary to shareholders. When you have that level of specificity to your shareholders and you say, this is our approach to PC. It's a dual approach. Live services day and date, our big tentpole titles, we send them over later. And he doesn't say to maximize profit. He says we send them over later in the hopes that these people would want to come to our console to play a sequel.
The problem with that statement from Herman Hulst is since he said that, more sequels have dropped on PlayStation. So what is the approach here, in my opinion? Not only sequels, but what you may call some kind of anthology or brand association or whatever it is. I mean, since he said it, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has come out more recently, and Lego Horizon Adventures came out after he said that. Then there was Ragnarok that also came out as well right after he had made those statements. So I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here?
And then he says they've had success in finding new users. They've been reporting new user acquisition has been quite good. 42% of the people who bought a PS5 last quarter were new users. They're going to report fiscal year 24 a similar number. They're going to report a very similar number. Almost half of the people who bought a PS5 in the previous fiscal year were brand new users. They're having success.
So are you concluding that these new users are PC gamers? We could call them children of PlayStation owners or nephews and nieces of PlayStation owners because we don't have any data to specify. I'm just curious if the PlayStation, or the person who's making this claim that, oh, it's new users, can actually back up the claim that those new users are PC gamers. Because in one breath, I've heard the PlayStation fans say, oh, it's because people don't want Xbox anymore, so they're moving to Xbox because Xbox is moving their games to PlayStation. In another breath, I'm about to hear that it's the PC gamers that played the original games, that played the first games, and then want to come over to PlayStation for the sequels, when the sequels are literally coming to them. So that particular number is not even showing where these people are moving to PlayStation from, but it seems like people on PlayStation's side want to take it as some kind of win for them. I don't think the data allows for you to do that. I'm sorry.
I think their games being playable on a console PC hybrid completely goes against that strategy, because that's
No. They've already done things that go completely against the strategy. Even before these Xbox PC hybrid things were ever in the conversation, they moved those games to PC, thereby making them accessible by whatever the heck you could use to fire up Windows that had enough processing power and graphics power to be able to play these games, and not just these games, but their sequels, and in many cases, the anthologies. Which game right now has shown up on the PC platform that has a sequel that we don't know about? None. Every single one of them already has either its sequel out or incoming, like The Last of Us Part 2. If anything, it's like the clock has now almost been somewhat reset, because now we're looking at Astrobot and saying, okay, are you going to jump in? And the game Demon's Souls, which he cited earlier, doesn't even have a sequel that they're bringing out in any regard. So PlayStation is signaling to you guys one thing, and you're believing one thing over there, but behind you, and I've said this in many, many videos, they're doing something entirely different. In fact, if I dare say, opposite to what it is that they're saying.
not a PC. It's more than a PC. It's a PC console hybrid. How are you going to get somebody to come off of that and come to your ecosystem when they know, well, God of War 2018 and Ragnarok are both here. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are both here. I can wait and I'll just get the next game, or I'll just wait, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not a PC. To me, I think that the shareholders would ask, like, hey, Herman, or whoever's in charge at that point in time in 2027, I imagine Herman will still be there, unless people want to, lie that he got fired or demoted, since neither of those things happened. But hey,
So the shareholders are going to be asking questions to events that have already taken place? I don't understand. Let me rewind that and see what he's saying here. Hold on. I'm lost.
I can wait and I'll just get the next game, or I'll just completely goes against that strategy, because that's not a PC. It's more than a PC. It's a PC console hybrid.
Oh, Reforge, you must not be cognizant with the fact that whether this is a PC console hybrid, as long as it can access the storefronts that PlayStation has put its games, that's it. I said this before. PlayStation needs its own PC launcher. If PlayStation had taken maybe, say, the Ubisoft approach, where for the most part, after Ubisoft had kind of backed away from Steam, they worked with Epic for a while because the profit and the revenue share, was not as big, but you couldn't play a lot of Ubisoft games outside of Ubisoft's own launcher. So it's not like PlayStation has a launcher where it can say, oh yeah, we're going to regulate what devices play our games. They've put their games as a third-party publisher on another front, which can be accessed by anything that has that particular support capability. This is where many people are, for some reason, still not wanting to accept the reality that if an Xbox console is made, is using Win32 or Win64 or X68 or whatever it is, and can access a Windows layer, or even if you can put any kind of a Linux distro on it and it accesses Steam, it can play those games. And PlayStation would not be able to do jack all about it. Again, if, say, they had their own storefront, right? They could regulate much more on PC, of which people would just still abandon them, as many abandoned Ubisoft, and then they went, pretty much running back to putting their games on Steam.
How are you going to get somebody to come off of that and come to your ecosystem when they know, well, God of War 2018 and Ragnarok are both here. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are both here. I can wait and I'll just get the next game, or I'll just wait, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not a PC. To me, I think that
Bro, y'all need to go back and update the understanding of what you think a PC is.
shareholders would ask, like, hey, Herman, or whoever's in charge at that point in time in 2027, I imagine Herman will still be there unless people want to, lie that he got fired or demoted, since neither of those things happened. But hey, headlines gotta get those click rates, right? In 2027, the shareholders could say, hey, how does this square with our strategy? You're putting games on PC in an effort, that strategy orbits around our console.
The shareholders don't consider the console as our. They consider the profits as our. If Herman is doing stuff to make the company profitable, that's what the shareholders want to see. And are you asking if the shareholders are going to be asking, like I just said, in 2027 about things that have already happened? I wasn't wrong. I went back to make sure that I wasn't, incorrect. So by 2027, the shareholders are finally going to wake up all of a sudden and say, now that you've launched 3 Spider-Man games on PC, when are you going to stop launching them so that people can come play the next Spider-Man game on the console? Yeah, 3. Miles Morales, the 2018 Spider-Man, or the remaster that was made a few years later, and then Spider-Man 2. Does this look to me that they want to stop launching these games on PC? It doesn't seem like it.
The console is central to PlayStation's strategy. Oh, we're taking games over there in an effort, because people always say this. They're like, oh, if they put the games day and date, they'd make more money. And they'll point to Helldivers 2 and how 60% of the sales of Helldivers 2 were on PC.
Well, I mean, obviously.
And the reason that PlayStation is not compelled by that is because you have to listen to their intentions with PC.
We listen to their intentions. The only thing is their actions subverted their so-called intentions that they spoke about. So if I was a PC gamer and I saw Marvel Spider-Man 2 announcement, I'd be like, huh? I thought this dude just said that we are taking the strategy of making these people come play our sequels on a console while still giving us live service games on PC. I'm confused. What do they want me to do? Do they want me to buy the live service games and wait here and then eventually show up later on and, buy the single player game on their console? Or should I wait to say? It's very confusing, and I think it's purposefully obfuscated to pretty much allow for a PlayStation aficionado or a pro PlayStation person to not be able to make any sense of it. I think that's what's going on here. The shareholders don't care, to be honest, if this exclusive game is sitting on PlayStation console or whatever it is. The shareholders are looking at the balance sheet at the end of the day.
Their intentions with PC is not to maximize profit. It's to convince people, we make great games, you might want to come over here and play the sequel.
That's not what Shuhei said. That is not what Shuhei said. Shuhei Yoshida said, people always talk about this stuff, but the PC ports are basically a license to print money. If you are finding ways to print money, that to me says maximizing profits. Let me be very frank. I think this is just a very huge effort to deny what the reality is actually putting here.
And then he says, we've had success doing this. We're getting new users, okay?
You're getting new users to play these so-called exclusive games while we're seeing their sale percentage really, really dwindle, whereas the non-exclusive game from last year was the highest selling game and carried you through Q4 in terms of your first-party sales. I don't understand. Show me the sales that are actually pointing towards this with games like Astrobot or with games like Marvel Spider-Man 2, non-bundled, and games like Demon's Souls and all these games that were so-called exclusive games, or even their sequels like Horizon Forbidden West. Shuhei said, who would have thought that Helldivers 2 will sell more than, why did the PC players not all abandon their, minds and say, you know what, let's go play Horizon over there on PlayStation?
And then they've been reporting ever since he said that, they've been consistently drawing attention to new user acquisition, which, by the way, that completely repudiates and refutes all the false claims from the green side, because
Where did the new users come from? Did the new users come from green side? Because as far as I know, it's only in my dreams that green side is playing PlayStation games, because they never got a taste of Spider-Man 2018. So there's no way they would have said, yeah, let's go play Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation. I mean, and then to say that they're coming from the PC side, or whatever, would be funny, because apparently they're sitting there playing Helldivers 2 more than even the PlayStation side. So where are these new users coming from? Could they be that they're the children of PlayStation owners, or people who are like, you know what? I use the Switch all my life. I want to get me a console. Let me get a PlayStation. It could be anybody. Shoot. It could be grasshoppers that run into a GameStop and all activated a PS console for themselves. It could be anybody. I'm not saying that it's not a real data set. I'm just saying there is nothing to tell us where these users are coming from.
just repeat everything Phil says, because, that completely repudiates and refutes all the false claims from the green side, because we just repeat everything Phil says, because, he's always telling the truth, right? We just repeat everything Phil says. So, yeah, the console market is stagnant. It's not growing. You can't get new users, and yet PlayStation's somehow figuring out a way to do it, and they're also hitting record MAUs, as evidenced by the fact that they're getting new users. So they are seeing growth in the console market, even though you've been told for, the last 12 to 18.
Growth? Well, color me surprised that you have a console that has sold over 100 and something million units, right? And a bunch of people are moving over to a new console. I don't know if I'll be shocked to see that new movement includes people who created a brand new account to activate another PlayStation device. I mean, I don't know, man. I can't believe anybody wants to hang their reputation on the data set that doesn't give you specifics that you don't know about. That's very dangerous to do.
18 months that it's not possible. So if that's their goal in going to PC, a PC console hybrid doesn't fit into that. It doesn't fit into that strategy.
They have no control of the games that they've already put on PC. I think I'm already done with this video. This is just talking in circles at this point. I just don't see any reason to continue to argue. We just need to just go ahead and wait and see how this all plays out. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.